And the game of the year is... Astrobot!
Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
So I just want to get off the bat that this video, the purpose of it is not to belittle or bring down the other games that won Game of the Year throughout the year, which, you know, Astrobot, Wukong, Helldivers 2, but it's more of just to lift up the spirits of those who are rooting for JRPGs and JRPGs in general. JRPGs seem to be going through like this weird phase where like no matter how good or successful one can be, it's never good enough. And last year was a big testament to that. And I don't really blame like sales, like people not going out there and supporting. I almost want to blame the companies that make the games. Right now specifically, I'm talking about Square Enix. So I was like doing some research, and it wasn't much research to be done, but basically Final Fantasy VII Rebirth didn't sell enough or as well as they were expecting it to sell. And this isn't the first time they've said that. They did the same thing for Final Fantasy 16, where the game basically came out and it was just a disappointment for them, which, you know, I think the sales overall ended up being like 3 million copies or a little more or something like that, which, you know, to any other company is like, holy shit, let's pop a bottle. But for Square Enix, it looks like that was just not great. That was just okay. And, you know, I just wanted to make a video just to shine a light on JRPGs just a little bit, because, man, they were really good in 2024, like amazing. And there were so many releases when it comes to JRPGs. Last year alone, I played through, I want to say like 4 or 5, which doesn't sound like much, but you got to remember too, JRPGs are about 30, 40, 50, 80 hours each. And I don't just play JRPGs. I play other games too, you know, whether it's a adventure game, a story-driven game. And, you know, like I try to focus on JRPGs as much as I can, but sometimes life gets the best of you, and playing 5 games that are 80 hours long, this isn't realistic. And then you want to play something shorter, something a little bit more precise. So, and that's where like things like Astrobot come in handy, or Balatro, which you could just play and you're just having a good time. But basically, I just wanted to talk about how I feel like JRPGs are in a weird spot, because no matter how successful they are, they're never successful enough. And it's not just because of sales, but the companies behind them saying things like, yeah, we didn't sell enough, so this is really disappointing. We'll see what happens with this franchise in the future. Or someone like Square Enix shutting down the division that made Visions of Mana. That game, by the way, was amazing. It was really fun, and it's for a JRPG, it's not that long. I think it took me less than 30 hours and had a decent story, amazing graphics, good music. But the studio that made it shut down, I think the day the game released, which is really disappointing. You know, like, not disappointing on them, because again, they made a great game and it was critically well received, but on just, I don't know, like the maybe Square Enix gets the blame for this one, because it's like, dude, if you want these games to sell like, I don't know, 5-10 million units, you're crazy. Only big name games will do that for you, right? Your Resident Evils, your Marios, maybe even your Sonics, who know? But, you know, a game like Visions of Mana, which already is a little bit on the niche side, you know, I don't think they were expecting it to sell X amount of dollars, because again, they closed the company down day one, but it's just doesn't look good. It makes, like, some people I know like will look at that and be like, oh, the company shut down, then their games must not be that great, or maybe there's no point on playing a game, because if there was going to be a cliffhanger or a sequel, obviously it's not going to get done anymore, because, well, they're closed down. And I saw that happen with Tango Gameworks. Like, when they closed down, people were super like, I don't think I want to play Evil Within, or I don't think I want to play Hi-Fi Rush, because, like, what's the point? You know, the studio's closed down, and if there's a sequel specifically with both of those games, right? Like Hi-Fi Rush, having potential to be a big franchise, or Evil Within, where there was definitely a cliffhanger for an Evil Within 3. I'm hoping that still is a thing. I don't think it can be anymore, but you know, the studio's Tango Gameworks, they ended up getting bought out afterwards once Microsoft gave them the boot, and you know, they got to keep the IP of Hi-Fi Rush, which is great, meaning that we're probably going to get another Hi-Fi Rush game sometime in the future. But the pressure that these companies put on these developers to make like a 10 million sold unit game is just ridiculous. I just feel like it's unfair. And last year, one of the biggest games of the year was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and the fact that like Square came out the gate saying like, yeah, it didn't sell that well, it's kind of disappointing to us, like we don't know what went wrong, so like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's like, okay, well, how do you think anyone's gonna feel going to GameStop or Target and looking at that game knowing that you yourself are saying like things like that, right? Like, oh, well, this game must not have been that great, not a lot of people played it, which is probably wrong. I'm pretty sure millions of people have played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You know, it's just, again, I don't know what Square Enix is smoking, where they're thinking every game's gonna sell 5, 10, 15 million units. And it's a bummer. It's such a bummer, because Rebirth is amazing. It was my game of the year, right in front of games like Metaphor ReFantazio, Astrobot. But the game now has that like stench to it, where it's like, oh, it's a good game, but it apparently didn't sell well. And I see people like on the internet always like bashing on the game whenever they're trying to defend their own game, like Wukong, let's say, for example. I've seen a lot of people who are like, Wukong's way better than, you know, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like, no, your own people didn't buy Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like, fans of the genre didn't even give that game a chance, according to Square Enix. Which again is like, that's not true. I'm almost certain the game sold millions of copies, just maybe not the millions that Square wanted it to sell. And it's just a bummer. It's just a bummer. And I wish that JRPGs just got a little bit more love in general, because they're great. They're great. If you love a story in your game, if you love like addicting gameplay, because they got to make the gameplay addicting. The good ones have to have a good loop, because those games last, again, over 40 hours. So you need a good gameplay mechanic to keep people playing. So again, usually they have the good ones, have good gameplay, they have good story, and if a company like Square Enix made it, you're probably going to get some good production values too, and the soundtracks and everything. Like, the games they just have a lot of love. And because, again, most companies know these games are not going to be gangbuster games, it's literally just made with love. It's made with love. And one company I got to give the biggest kudos to is Atlus. Atlus, I swear, they have the magic touch. They have the magic touch, and I think Square needs to call them at some point and just ask them, like, dude, what are you guys smoking over there? Because their games are amazing. They released 3 games in 2024. One being like, you know, a remaster of a game that came out on Switch, which was Shin Megami Tensei 5, Revengeance. And the other 2 games were Persona 3 Reload, which was a remake of Persona 3, which, by the way, phenomenal game. I can't believe it didn't get nominated for anything in the Game Awards, at least for the music alone. The music is so good. But that was another one. And then the final big one is Metaphor ReFantazio, which, according to Atlus, sold amazingly. The first day it launched, it sold 1 million copies, and the game critically, I think, is like the highest rated game of Metacritic of 2024, maybe the second. And it's just like amazing. It's amazing. It's a feel good story, because the game, when it initially was announced and was shown off to people, no one talked about it, just like the diehards did. And Atlus was promoting the game really, really heavy with Xbox, which, if you know anything about Xbox right now, probably isn't the best bet when it comes to getting big sales numbers, because a lot of Xbox players love their Game Pass, and that's fair, but you're not going to get sales out of Game Pass, right? Not only that, but the game wasn't even released on Game Pass. So, you know, to just market it with Xbox, especially because it's a JRPG and it's an Atlus JRPG, so you're hoping and banking on Japan also being a factor for playing this game. And again, if you know anything about Xbox, they don't do so hot in Japan. I think they sell like 2 consoles a week or something. It's really bad over there, and to Xbox's fault. But I just feel like they deserve all the credit in the world, because those guys literally release whatever the heck they feel like releasing, and 9 out of 10 times they sell amazingly well. Those games do, at least, and they're like critical darlings. Another game Atlus released, Atlus was on fire. Now that I'm thinking about it a lot here, they released Unicorn Overlord, which I actually put like 15-20 hours into. Kind of had to take a break off of it, but another game that's just amazing. The story isn't the greatest, but the music's really good, the game looks phenomenal, and the tactical gameplay is so addicting. So they obviously have the sauce. They have whatever the heck the chef ordered, like, and then some. And I just feel like Square, you know, like, they have it too. Like, they the last couple of JRPGs, which I'm gonna just say right now, Rebirth and Final Fantasy 16, they were phenomenal games. And again, Rebirth is my favorite game of the year last year, and Final Fantasy 16 was my second favorite game of 2023, right behind Resident Evil 4 Remake, which, oh man, one day I'll talk about that one. But I don't know, I just feel like you know, they put so much pressure on those games to sell like stupid numbers, and it's just unfair, because it again gives a stench off those games as if like they just aren't great games, or like there was something wrong with them. They're like the ugly stepchild, you know. And it's unfair. It's unfair. And you know, the whole purpose here is for me to say, like, give some of these games a chance if you guys haven't yet already. And you know, there could be many reasons people probably don't want to give these a chance, and one of them, believe it or not, is the length of the games. Some people don't like the fact that a JRPG can take you, you know, 50 to 100 hours, and that's fair. But I'd say give one a chance. It's like just one for the year. Like, just grab one good JRPG and alongside all the games you're gonna buy and play this year, and give it a chance. And you never know, you might play those 100 hours in a month because the game is that good, or you're that addicted to it. Yeah, something tells me if Persona and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth couldn't win Game of the Year, I don't know if any other JRPG has a chance, but who knows? The future is unwritten, right? So we'll see. Maybe one will win one day, but if not, as long as the games keep coming out and they're all good, I'm more than fine with that too. But anyway, have you guys played any of the JRPGs that came out last year? And if you have, which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Please give the video a like if you'd liked it, and maybe subscribe to the channel. I'm still getting good at the outros and all that good stuff, but yeah, that's all I got. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.